All right, so let's see. All right. So here we have our two controllers, the login controller and the profile controller. And typically controllers are going to have two major things that they're going to be handling. One is the event handlers, meaning all the events that the user generates as they interact with the user interface. Right? In this case, we have in the login controller we have just one event handler, just a login event handler. In the profile, we don't have one yet, but we're certainly going to have one, right? One maybe for removing the user if they want to unregister, right? Or maybe they want to update their profile. It would be here. And the other big part of it is initialization. What do we do when we first are instantiated? The login controller doesn't really do anything when it gets instantiated, right? It gets instantiated, and the only thing it does is just declares this event handler. That's all it does, right? But it doesn't run any logic, not until we click on the login function, yes? Whereas the profile controller, when it first loads, it does do a couple of things. One is retrieve the user ID from the parameter, and then look up that user by ID, and then update that data for the template. So it's a good practice to declare all the event handlers at the top, and also to create a specific initialization function. Right? Here in the login controller, we don't have any initialization. So typically, what we would do is that we would encapsulate any logic that we want to happen in an init function, and then explicitly call it. Right now, we don't have anything that the login controller is doing, so we're going to leave it empty for now. We might come back a little later and maybe fill in a couple of things, but even if it's empty, it's a good idea that to put it in nevertheless, knowing that there is nothing. We're not doing anything in the init function, and we are deliberately leaving it empty. In the profile, we are doing something, right? When we're first initializing, we are looking up data from a data source and then updating the template. Okay, so this makes it very explicit, right? That we know that this should happen at initialization. So there shouldn't be any code, any logic that lives outside a particular function, right? That we don't want to leave anything to implicit behavior, right? We want to make sure that we are always taking a very explicit decision of where to put things. Okay. The other one is these declarations of event handlers. Right now, this login function, this login controller has only one single event handler, right? So it's really not a big deal, but you could imagine a controller having 2, 3, 4, 5 event handlers. Okay, so it's a good practice to declare these event handlers at the top of the controller, right? So that if somebody is reading your code, they can very quickly view at the top the list of all the events that this controller handles, right? Without forcing the user to have to, read your entire code to decipher what are the events. Okay, so here we only have one, so I'm going to do it very quickly. I'm just going to declare it up here. Scope.login equal maybe the name of the function login, and then the function would be here, login. Yes. Right now there's only one. But if you had 10 event handlers, it'd be nice that I could look it up right at the beginning. I can see immediately what the event handlers are. Otherwise, you would be forcing me to scroll, through several pages, right, to try to identify what are the events that this controller handles. Yes. So it's only for making it easier for everybody else to read your code, especially for the TAs and myself that need to read lots and lots of code. Okay. But this would be part of the normal code review in a team, right? Other team members are going to be making themselves responsible for your code at some point, yes? So they're going to ask you to make it as easy for them to maintain your code, yes? Certainly your code will outlive you many years after you've left the team, right? So somebody else is going to fall on somebody else's responsibility to look at your code and fix things, right? So whatever you can make it easy for them, the better. So here we only have an init. We don't have any event handlers. So, but we will create a couple. For instance, from the profile controller, we're probably going to have update user will be probably here. Yeah. Also probably unregister will be here. Right, from within the profile, says I don't want to belong to this community anymore. I want to leave. Yes. We will probably be here. What else? I think that's it. And then the function would be declared down here. Update user would be here. Unregister would be here. Okay, that makes sense, right? And typically the HTML would go along with that, right? In the templates for the profile, you would have buttons that would invoke each one of these, right? So for instance, you might have here unregister. You know, something like not an href, you would have an unregister, and you would have an ng-click here, ng-click unregister, and you would have probably an update too in here, update, and this would be update user. Okay, makes sense? These are the events that are being handled. Probably we don't want it to be red. Maybe we want it to be primary, blue, so that the profile would look something like this. You would have unregister, update, right, which would be calling each one of these functions, right? And we'll implement it a little later. But that makes sense? Everybody good? All right.